Very good evening to everyone. It's a pleasure to have today with us Kamal Kishore, who is the expert in revenue management and one of the big name in the country and in the South Asia. So Kamal Kishore is the from the RedSky Hospitality, and today he's gonna take us through this masterclass, demand generation the right way. The country is going through a difficult spot right now in terms of the COVID-19. The occupancies are all-time low, and this is the time where we need revenue management more effectively because the new avenues of business need to explore, and at the same time we have a limited avenue. So currently, if I talk about the overall market size, the majority of the business, all the hotels in the organized space or in the standalone categories are getting from the Vande Bharat mission, or it's COVID related health workers, and to some extent limited businesses coming with a very limited corporate movement, or weekend getaways and staycations have also picked up in some micro markets, especially in the Delhi NCR market. Some of the assets are doing extremely well. But overall, yes, a lot need to be done. And that's the reason our firm Noesis Capital Advisors and Engage Hospitality together we thought it's very important to have this subject to be discussed in length and detail. So the independent hotel owners along the professional hotel chains can take benefit out of that. So a decade back, the revenue management concept got very active in the country with the organized space. But in independent hotels, in the standalone hotel, it's still at a very nascent stage, or I will say it's not get executed very well because from the financial aspect of it has its own challenges. So from here, I'll take it over, give this platform to Kamal to please come and take it over and enlighten all of us and our audience and the industry at large. Thanks, Kamal. Please welcome on board.
Great, thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. So let me just put the expectations right first. I was just watching the previous session webinar, okay, and we were talking about, or the panelists were discussing about as to what the global trends are and what exactly is happening in other markets and all of that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring everything back to basics, okay? Because what happens is that we start talking about something really big when our basics are still not sorted, okay? So a lot of, I've been told there are hotel owners, there's GMs, there are a lot of people there on the webinar today. And I know that everybody's got one question. What's the market forecast? What's going to happen next month? What's going to happen in the next 3 months? And there is a simple answer to that. The answer is, I don't know, okay? We know the trends as to what exactly is happening globally. So if you ask me what's happening globally, I know that majority of you already know. If you want to know more about what's happening globally, you can go on to str.com, and there is a section there without logging in called COVID-19 updates. But I can give you a bit of a brief as to what exactly is happening, because with revenue management, we can only forecast looking at the trends. Now, there are certain trends where we can see, yes, we can apply certain trends in India, but then I personally do not see those trends copying and pasting in India. Okay, so to give you some examples, China market is now plateaued at around 60%. This is the data from STR, and this is as latest as 18th of July. So there was a second wave of virus spread which came in Beijing, and that's the time the occupancy levels dropped to around 40%, and then it started picking up again, but the occupancy is now plateaued at around 60%. If you look at the US market is now plateaued at around 47%. Again, it's STR data, what I'm sharing with you. Europe is currently on the rise. They've reached around 35%, because if you see, the hotels have now opened. The air bubble is now starting or started, and there are hotels opening and people have started traveling. If you look at New Zealand, New Zealand as a market is doing very well. The domestic leisure market is doing quite well. There's hotels which we look after in New Zealand. We support them in revenue management, and the hotel we are supporting is already doing 68% occupancy for the month of July. In Australia, business is still picking up in Sydney, but then in Melbourne, because the lockdown has again started, so the business has dropped again. So this is a quick update. In terms of India, if we look at, like Mr. Jain mentioned, Mumbai, we are seeing around the airport, there's good business. We're seeing good business happening in Delhi, again, around the airport. So around airport hotels, they are picking up, but then we will not say that that's the ideal business what we're looking at. However, when it comes to market forecast, the answer is I don't know, because it purely depends on the government policies. As to, we don't know Unlock 3.0, how it's gonna look like. If we look at Goa, people want to travel, including me. We want to travel. We just bored sitting at home. And the only challenge is, if you talk about Goa, if you want to travel to Goa, you have to carry a COVID-19 negative test report with you, which was done within 48 hours, or you go to the airports and get the COVID-19 test done, and you have to be in quarantine till the time you get the test reports. If you have to go to Karnataka, there is a 7-day home quarantine, which you have to do. So if I have to go to Karnataka or Bangalore for business for 3 days or 4 days, I will think twice. So till the time all these travel restrictions are there, obviously they are there for our own safety, but then till the time these restrictions are there, we won't see that actual demand moving in. So what can we do now at this moment of time where we sit, where we don't know when the demand is going to come back? So demand is there. It's not that the demand is zero, because obviously there are hotels, there are certain properties which we look after, they're running at 68%, but that, like I said, that is not the ideal business. We talked about Vande Bharat, which is obviously at a very, very low price point. It's not the actual corporate demand moving or the leisure demand moving. So what can we do at this moment of time to see that when the demand starts coming in, are we actually prepared to handle that demand, and are we actually prepared to capture that demand for our property? Because when the demand comes in, the demand is going to be there for the market. Okay. Now, obviously, if I'm the hotel owner or I'm the GM of the hotel, I want my hotel to do better than the competitor hotel. So as a own hotel, what can we do now? So like I said, I'm going to take you back to basics, real basics as to what you can do now. Okay. So there are things which a revenue manager will do now is making sure that your content is up to date. Obviously, we're talking about cleanliness and hygiene. So is that content updated on your official website? Is that content updated on your GDS? We'll talk about pricing strategies. So what tactical campaigns we can look at, how we can design the packages. We'll talk about something called volume drivers to really push that volume into that hotel as long as the demand is there. We'll touch base on upselling slightly. And most importantly, and this was briefly discussed in the other session as well, Joy Ghosh mentioned about client retention. It's way more expensive or difficult to acquire the new clients. So client retention is very, very important, and how we can get the same demand back. Okay. Before we go into there, just wanted to touch base on revenue manager role. So there is still a lot of confusion out there. What is revenue manager's role during this period, or in general as well, whether there's COVID-19 there or not there, just a normal. It's a bit confusing. So I'm not going to talk about the normal scenario. I will talk about what is the revenue manager's role at this moment of time. Now, I will put it in a different way. So Revenue manager's role needs to be decided by the hotel owner, the vice president of the company, or the GM of the hotel. And when I say that, you need to have a clear top line strategy. You need to come together, sit in a room, and say, what is our objective for the next 3 months, 6 months, 1 year? Forget about, we don't know what the demand is or when it's going to come back. So we don't know that. What we know is whatever demand is there, are we willing to go down certain routes to capture that demand for our property? Because please understand that this time is all about survival. Yeah, like the Alibaba CEO turned around and said, this year is all about survival. It's not about ADR, or it's not about that, I'm going to be looking at this ADR and I'm going to be looking at this budgeted occupancy and all that. It's about survival this year. So the first request will be that come together, decide the pricing strategy, decide about, because online channels have become very complicated, and we're going to discuss that in the volume driver section. Online travel agents have become very complicated. There's channels within the channels. Okay, so if you're looking at that now, you know what, I want a threshold of 5,000 and I will not go below 5,000. It actually becomes quite difficult for the revenue manager, because if the revenue manager puts a 5,000 rupee rate, sell rate out on the online channel, do they go ahead and apply mobile discounting to that? Now, if you see, mobile discounting is doing much better as compared to the desktop sites. Okay, so you need to, the GM, the vice president, the hotel owners really need to sit with the revenue manager and understand those channels and look at the price point at every level and agree on those price point. Okay, so content, back to basic. Look at your direct website content. Look at what cleanliness, hygiene certification you got on your direct website. Look at what extra value add-ons you got on your direct website. Okay, to capture that client. Online travel agents have got a lot of new content put on. Things like what all hygiene practices the hotel is following. So the revenue manager or your e-commerce manager needs to go on to each and every extranet and needs to say yes or no to that, because they will show up in the front end of the online travel agent. There are quite a lot of safety certifications which are coming out. So speak to the revenue manager and see which all safety certification you want to be shown on your listing. Global distribution system. As we know that the global travel or the international travel has not started yet. But then we have seen in some business properties that the domestic business has started on GDS. Okay. In fact, I was looking at this morning only, and I was a bit surprised to look at GDS room nights getting generated. But then again, that's the domestic corporate travel business, which is slowly starting. So you need to look at your global distribution system content and optimize that as per the current demand or current requirements. You need to look at your Google listing and your TripAdvisor listing. Just review the content, make sure that it's fitting in with the current scenario. Okay. When I talk about content, what I'm talking about is look at the photographs. Don't overdo it, because I came across one of the property where I just went on to booking.com and looked at their photographs. Out of around 40 photographs, they had around 25 photographs which was just related to temperature checks and people wearing masks and people wearing gloves and all those sort of things. So don't overdo it. But yes, give that confidence. So the whole idea is give the confidence to the traveler that you are taking all the measures and you will look after them, and they will be safe when they come to your property. Room type descriptions. So we have always followed a certain best practice when it comes to room type description. So for a business property, we look at obviously what all things are important to a business traveler. Things like, we always say 500 square feet room with air conditioning, high-speed internet access, and this is whatever is important to the leisure traveler. For a business traveler, for a leisure property, we customize the room type description according to the leisure traveler need. Okay, but obviously now what we've been doing is we've been customizing the room type descriptions to include the cleanliness and hygiene practices which have been put in. The rooms are being kept empty for 48 hours. There's fogging going on. What kind of other practices which is taking place in the room to give us safety. Rate plan descriptions. Need to relook at it, look at the inclusions, look at the cancellation policies, because obviously at this moment of time, with the flights getting cancelled at a very short notice, the customer will be looking at flexible rates. So review your cancellation policy and see what kind of flexibility you can give to your potential booker. Ask your GDS provider to send you the HDD pages. So that's the hotel descriptive data pages. So generally what happens is they send you the silver HDD pages, or it's also called the HDD pages. So it's basically a snapshot of the entire GDS content which is on there. Review that content because there could be some things missing out. So we come across, so we do a lot of hotel audits, revenue management audits to see if the content is correct or what kind of best practices they are missing and all those sort of things. So we come across that even if there is a 5-star property, their North Star rating. So North Star rating is something which is used for the GDS, as we say the hotel is a 5-star hotel or a 4-star hotel, and we come across that the North Star rating, which is the NPM rating, is marked as NA. Okay. So there are a lot many things which you can look at the content to make sure that your content is correct, and that gives that confidence to the agent to book the potential booker at your property. So sorry. So like I mentioned before, online travel agents, they have quite a lot of COVID-19 protocols. They have safety badges in place. So your revenue manager will know all of this, or should know, let me put it, will know or should know all these things. So you need to literally go and ask your revenue manager to go through all of this and get all of this prepared for when the demand starts coming in. It will be easier for you to capture that demand. Okay, let's come on to the important bit, pricing strategy. So again, I'm going to put a question up, which there are a lot of people out there. And I've been attending a lot of webinars and all of that. And eventually then I stopped attending those webinars, honestly speaking, because one of the questions, should we drop the rate and get into a price war, or should we hold the rate and lose the business to the comsets? It's a very tricky question, and majority of the webinars I attended, they said, let's not get into the price war. Let's hold the price points. There is no point of dropping the rates. You know, the demand is only there. There's certain demand which is there. Why to drop the price point and capture that demand? Now, maybe there will be a lot of people on the webinar at this moment of time who will not agree with me on this. But I have a very simple basics revenue management, that the price point is a derivation of demand and supply. Okay, we know that the demand has fallen down drastically. As a result of it, there is ample supply in the market. Okay, and we're talking about the survival. Okay, so to give you an example, like a 5-star hotel in Mumbai, where we normally in a month like November or a February, we will sell at around 9,500, 10,000 rupees a night. During Diwali, we know that that price point drops down drastically, because that Diwali week, the occupancy in Mumbai drops down to around 35-40%. We know this thing. So the price points are kept low. It's a similar scenario. Okay, not saying that you drop the price point to a level where your brand perception changes. Okay, so you have to be very, very careful when you're looking at adjusting your price point. So I never use the word dropping the price point. It's about adjusting the price point to the market. Okay. So when we look at the pricing strategy, first of all, your price point depends on demand and supply. So sitting here, I cannot tell you whether you should drop your price point by 10%, 15%, or 20%. It will vary with your markets. It will vary with your hotel location. It will depend on a lot of factors. Okay. So again, your revenue manager comes in, looks at it, and it's not only about dropping the price point and leaving it there. It's the time to test out the price sensitivity in the market. So you have to keep on fluctuating the price point to get that right balance. Okay. So the other thing is, obviously, I need to look at the promotions now. Again, attending the previous session and attending quite a lot of international webinars. So I've been attending from the Australasia, US, Europe. There's quite a lot of webinars which have been happening. And there are a lot of people who are talking about staycation. Okay. Now, it could be that probably I may be wrong on this, but what we've seen is from my experience working in UK and handling properties in other countries, their culture is very, very different from Indian culture. Okay. They don't have maids working at home, right? Abroad, we do everything on our own. Okay. We broom, we vacuum, we do dusting, we wash dishes, we wash our own car and all of that. In India, we have the luxury to have maid, we have the luxury to keep a cook and all those sort of things. So I am not really convinced that much. I may be wrong again. Again, I have not seen that practically, that a staycation package that people in the local city, like I'm sitting here in Delhi and I will say, let me go and stay at AeroCity. Okay, I'm not very convinced about it. There is a very good possibility I'll pick up the car and go to Agra. Okay, it's drivable distance. It will give me a different scene. There is a possibility I'll pick up the car and drive to Shimla if the borders are open. It's hardly any drive. I may drive to Jaipur. That is a good possibility because that will give me a completely different scenery. Okay. Now, again, because of certain restrictions, like I was calling one of our clients, they have a property in Rishikesh. And so I asked them, I said, okay, just for the change of scene, let me just go there and spend 5-6 days and I'll work from there and, and all those sort of things. So he turned on and said, most welcome to go, but then there is a 7-day quarantine. You will not be able to go out anywhere. So I said, forget it. There's no point of driving all the way to Rishikesh and sitting in the property quarantine. Okay. And also at the tolls or one of the government tolls and all, there are long queues. It's like 2 hours long queue, 2 hours long wait, where you have to sit there, you have to fill an online form, and then they give you a manual pin or something or whatever. So it's like it's really, really difficult. You might as well not travel. Okay. So when we talk about promotions, again, you have to look at what kind of target audience is there. Like I said, demand is not zero. Okay, demand is not zero. There's people still traveling. We can still see around 15-20% occupancies still coming to the hotels. Okay, so you need to really look at that. What kind of people are traveling? Really understand who are these people traveling, and then design your promotions according to that. Okay. Then talked about tactical campaigns. Rather than dropping the price point straight away, look at some tactical campaigns. So the customer does not get the impression that you are slashing down your price point. Okay. What you're doing is you're putting a special offer out there, a limited time offer. Buy one, get one free. So buy one night, get the second night free. Now there is a possibility that you'll give the first night on breakfast and dinner price. So what we call is MAP, and the second night is on EP or a CP. Okay. There is something else what we launched. Obviously, there are system restrictions and we cannot do those. So people who are traveling in families, what we did is that we did buy one room and get the second room complimentary. Okay, so and obviously when these families are gonna come to your property, they're not gonna go out anywhere to have dinner or lunch. They just want to go out of their houses. So they will obviously order room service or some kind of look at some kind of entertainment at the property. So to give you another example, so it's actually closed user group campaigns. So to give you an example of a closed user group, what we have just launched for one of our property is that what we noticed is that there is a demand for people coming and staying at the property who have got early morning flight. Okay. Now, if you see with the domestic flights where you have to report an hour prior to the flight time, this is now changed to 2 hours before the flight time, departure time. So imagine, especially someone living in Bangalore, where the airport is completely out of the city. Okay, so the hotels which are closer to the city, or even you can look at Ahmedabad or even Mumbai, where it can take up to 45 minutes or an hour. So if somebody's got a 7 a.m. flight, that means they have to be at the airport at 5 a.m. So that means they have to get up at like 3 in the morning, get ready, leave, because it's going to take them an hour and all of that. So obviously when you do that, you will disturb your family members as well. They will be sleeping at that time. So what we did is that we said a closed user group, anyone who's got a flight departure time before 8 a.m., we have given them a very, very special offer. And it's a room only rate, no dinner, no breakfast, and inclusive of airport drop, because it's the hotels which are very close to the airport, and the airport transfer cost is not that high. So this is a closed user group. You're targeting certain target audience. This rate cannot be used by everyone. Yeah, so we put certain conditions out there. Okay. Packages, value-added offers. So everybody is looking at what we call is MAP, AP rates. Okay, there are certain hotels which are going step ahead and giving some other entertainment things in the packages. My only request is, or what I observed, is that when you're creating a package, and that's the reason why I've used the word value added offer, is that a customer will only buy that if they see value in that. Okay. Now at one side, we're looking at giving Vande Bharat price point at around, let's say, even hotels going down to a level of 3,500, 4,000 APAI. But then when we're looking at certain value packages, MAP or AP packages, it's going up to like 7,000, 8,000 rupees. Now that doesn't make sense. So why will a customer buy 7,000, 8,000 rupee MAP or an AP package? Yeah. So we need to really look at and see what is our objective. What are we trying to achieve here? And I'm sure that majority of the people are looking at how I can get bums in beds, what we call people coming to the property, spend some money so that the cash flow of the property starts. Okay, it's all about survival. So relook at your packages and see how you can make it value packages, not slapping the full price of dinner and lunch and breakfast on top of that and say, I'm going to charge this, and it becomes so expensive that people are not even buying. Okay, so relook at those F&B allocations on there and see. Look at, like I mentioned before, look at your cancellation policy. People are looking for flexible rates. Hotel rooms are going empty anyway, so it doesn't really matter. You're not displacing any business at this moment of time. You're not losing anything at this moment of time by making the cancellation policy flexible. Okay, look at your room type supplements. Okay, when I say room type supplements, there's obviously the general room type supplements from a base to a base plus one. Some properties look at 500, some properties look at even 1,000. But let's be realistic at this moment of time and see how many rooms do we actually upsell. Okay. Do we really force sell? Out of 365 days, I think there will be hardly 15 or 20 days where there are high demand events used to take place, where we used to force sell higher category rooms. The rest of the days, we used to say, oh, just overbook on the base category room and just upgrade people. So look at those room type supplements. Look at your suite price point, where a suite price point is sitting at 30,000, 35,000, 40,000. If we are looking at the base category room price point coming down, why not relook at your suite room pricing as well and see if we can make it more attractive package out of that? Okay, because people still have money to travel and they want to travel, be it for leisure, be it for business. It's about how you can grab them, how you can convince them to come to your property. Okay, so globally, if you look at leisure travel started first. Like I said, that even when we are looking at certain international properties of ours, we are seeing that weekend occupancies and long weekend occupancies are much higher as compared to midweek, which is right, because the culture abroad is different. They believe in short holidays and once in a year, a long holiday. When we look at this moment of time where a lot of people are losing jobs and the market is so unpredictable, we Indians believe on saving the money just in case the time worsens. Okay. Now, so when it comes to leisure market will start first or the corporate market will start first, to be honest, I think both the markets are going to start at the same time. There are people out there who are desperate to go for a holiday. They will go travel to Shimla or Goa or Agra or Jaipur. It will happen. But at the same time, how I see is your medium and small companies. Their businesses have stopped for quite some time, and those are the people who are really struggling at this moment of time. People who are running their own businesses. Raw material not coming, or they're unable to source raw material, or they have raw material and the factory is not taking it. Okay, so there is a lot of chains which have broken at this moment of time. So the way I see it, in fact, I have already started seeing it. It's not that we're going to see it. We have already started seeing it, that medium to small enterprises have already started their travel, because they are the one who are really suffering at this moment of time. So that should be one area of focus. Global accounts will take time, because the global travel decision making depends on the international travel. There's somebody sitting out there, someone who's going to decide when IBM, Cisco, SAP, all these people, they're going to say, now it's safe. WHO has said, yes, it's safe to travel, and now we're going to travel. So till that time, there is a travel freeze which is out there. But SMEs, they are their own decision makers. It's their own business, so they will start traveling, and we have seen that. So the sales team focus should really be look at these small businesses and see how you can build up that rapport with them, how you can make that connect and start targeting those, so that at least your cash flow starts going on. Okay. Look at the channels where they're booking. So SMEs, depending on where they're placed, it really depends where they're placed in India. So we've seen they book through online travel agents. So again, you need to look at that your presence on the online channels is right, and you're priced right in the market, not low in the market, not high in the market. Because if you price too low in the market, the perception will be that the hotel probably is not good, hence the reason why they have slashed the pricing so much. So please understand that slashing the price point does not always mean that you will get good business. So you have to be really careful and adjust the price point accordingly. So there are certain markets, like if I give you an example of Gujarat. In Gujarat, when the businessman travels, they book through travel agent. And the reason why they do that is because majority of people traveling from Gujarat, they don't believe in using credit cards and debit cards. They believe in using cash Okay, they don't believe in going online and making the booking. They believe in booking through their local friendly travel agent. So you need to look at where your business, where your source market is, and how does that source market book and target that particular channel, be it offline or online. Sales teams obviously cannot travel at this moment of time. Offices won't let them, they won't give any meetings or anything, but then over the phone, they need to really build up that repo. And this is the time where all the salespeople have been put to test as well, how convincing they are over the phone to grab that market share. Okay. So we talked about volume drivers. Now, your revenue manager will and should know what all volume drivers are out there. So volume driver is not a normal terminology which is used in revenue management. It's something which we use within our company, just to make it simpler, not get confused between a promotion and a volume driver. So you must have already heard about these volume drivers. Like, if you see that the mobile deals are working very well, people are not using desktop sites that much. They're using mobile platforms, so be it iPad or iPhone or mobile apps, because they know that they're getting much better deals on the mobile devices. So that is something which your revenue manager needs to look at. Now, this is something where the hotel owner, GM, and the VP of the company needs to sit together and decide that, are we okay with this? Because what we have seen with the hotels is that there is a certain strategy which everybody agrees on, and then the revenue manager goes and implements the strategy. By the time that strategy goes out and starts yielding results or starts getting results, suddenly somebody wakes up and says, "Now, sorry, go ahead and shut down all this." Please give it time to breathe. Let that strategy grow. Okay, give it some time. Fluctuate the price point, because there is a huge difference between fluctuating the price point and making changes to the promotions. Promotions are not changed on a daily basis. It's the price point which is changed on a daily basis. In fact, even twice, thrice in a day. So whatever strategy you agree on, just let it breathe, let it go. Keep on fluctuating the price point and see what is the ideal price point for your property in this time period. Look at pay at hotels, because if you see, like, there are OTAs out there who only do pay at hotels. Look at your direct website. I come across a lot of hotel websites who have got payment gateways. Half of the time I've seen that the payment gateways fail, and it becomes quite annoying for the potential booker. If you are giving a third party the flexibility of booking and paying at the hotel, why not on your direct website? Switch off the payment gateway for some time. Let the customer enter their credit card details. How does it matter? The hotels are running at 10%, 15%, 20% occupancy. How does it matter if the booking goes to as a no-show or gets canceled at the last minute? When you give more flexibility to the customer, there is a possibility that your conversions will improve. And what we've seen is that for pay at hotel or even no CC required bookings, there is a 65% conversion on the booking, where 65% of the people actually come and stay at the property. So at this moment of time, look at as much as flexibility which you can give. There are other things like members deals on the OTA partners. And I am not just going to talk about give all these deals to OTA partners. You have your direct website as well. If you're giving members those deals, then look at your direct website and look at promo codes which you can put out on social media sites. So don't just keep on giving discounts on one side, because obviously that's going to eat in your profits as well. Look at certain deals for your direct website as well, some exclusive deals for your direct website as well. Okay. Things like early check-in, late checkout. Again, I don't know. There is nothing really to say that how much it's going to help with the conversion, but then that is something which is really, really beneficial for any airport property, because if there is an early morning flight or there is a late evening flight, in fact, not early morning flight, if there is a late evening flight, How does it matter the hotels are running at 20-25% occupancy? Give it a late checkout at 2 p.m. or 4 p.m. and say, don't worry, we are here to, your flight is at 6, don't worry, you stay in the hotel room till 4 p.m. Not a problem at all, because that's going to help you to retain that customer for future. Briefly mention about no CC required. Again, this is something which some of the OTA partners offer, and by all means, you can do it for your hotel website as well. You might attract some wrong kind of customers, so you have to be careful. But then again, you can try it out and see if it improves your conversion. Because again, trying all these things, looking at what might work for your property, try it out. At this moment of time, it's all about survival. And the list continues. So I've just only listed some of them. If you talk to your revenue manager, there is a long list of volume drivers which you can activate for your property. Just be careful that some of them stack on top of each other. So when I say that they stack on top of each other, meaning if you've given 10% for this, 10% for that, 10% for that, it's going to add it up and make it 30%. So we don't want that, because there is no point of selling a room and getting something which doesn't even cover the cost of the room. Okay, so just be careful, but your revenue manager should or will have the details of all these special deals. And this is what we call channel-in-channel deals. Okay, so speak to your revenue manager. They will be able to provide you with a list. Sit and have a look at it and agree on the strategy for the next 3 months, 6 months. Okay. Client experience, retention, and referrals. So this is something which is very, very important. Like I said in the beginning, that Joy Ghosh also mentioned about this, about retaining the existing clients is much easier. So what I've seen is that, say, for example, there is a regular guest who's coming at your property and staying and putting a feedback on the OTA website if they book through OTA. I would say ask them to put a feedback on LinkedIn as well, because we know that LinkedIn is a corporate platform. It's not like Facebook. For leisure properties, obviously, Facebook is a much better this thing, that because everybody talks about their holiday photographs, they tag each other and all those sort of things. So for any corporate hotels, I would say, LinkedIn is a very good platform. Ask your guests, how was your stay, and and let them, and request them if they can put it on LinkedIn about the hotel cleanliness and hygiene practices which are in place. And I'm sure that it makes a much bigger impact to the potential traveler. They will remember your property name if they're coming to your city. Put some incentive for referrals for your regular clients, so they can start talking about your property. They can start referring your hotel to other people. So put an incentive. Incentive could be anything like a complimentary upgrade on your next visit, because they are their your regular guests. So obviously, complimentary upgrade to a next room category, or complimentary meal, or something like this, which depending on their designation. Okay, so don't offer CEO a complimentary, I don't know, welcome drink or something. That's not going to be really good for them. Offer them something really which is as per their designation, so they feel valued for referring your hotel. For leisure properties, again, Facebook is a very good platform, and I'll give you an example. Everybody must be knowing Nitin Brijwani. He's with GTA, which is now Hotel Beds and all that. So I keep on looking at his WhatsApp status, and he's got some amazing photographs on his WhatsApp status. So I kept on looking, and then one day I just sent a message to him. I said, "Are these the old ones, or is it you're actually there now?" So he goes, "I'm actually there now." Okay, so I was like, okay, let me know where exactly is this. I'm going to see that once all this starts, I'm going to start traveling. So it does make a lot of impacts. So if for leisure properties, if you ask your guests to go ahead and take some hotel photographs and put it on Facebook, or even if you put it and you tag them to those photographs and ask them to share it, that really makes a big impact, because that really gives that live experience what the potential booker will be looking at. So, and that is something, see, at this moment of time, I'm not going to recommend anything where you will end up spending more money. I had actually put a slide about marketing, but then I removed that marketing slide because at this moment of time, it's about survival and see what all things we can do ourselves. So everybody uses Facebook. I'm sure you know anyone in the hotel who is really good with using Facebook can do that. We all have to come together and start doing our own hotel marketing rather than looking at third party. Let's go and look at the third party and outsource all those things. So yeah, so there are some certain tips from my side. Sorry, it was very, very basic, but this is something which we can do at this moment of time before the demand kicks in. I am very, very confident. Please don't ask me the timelines, but I'm very, very confident that once the travel restrictions ease out and they are relaxed, you will see a boom in domestic travelers, especially from medium to small industries, enterprises. We will, because they are really struggling for business and they will go out all in the market to source this for the client meetings and all those sort of things. So I'm very confident with that one, but it's just that we don't know when, and it all depends on the government when. Great, that is me. Thank you very much for your time. I will go on to the questions and answers now. Yes.
Super. Okay, so there are a few questions from our audience. So first question from one of the hotel's marketing head. So she's asking, what about your view on the leisure assets, which are fully dependent on the foreign travelers? Do you see any revival in business in the next couple of quarters?
So again, see, international travel again, it's very unpredictable. It all depends on the government as to what they decide to do going forward. There were some articles which were going on that end of July the international travel will start and this will happen, but then nothing. We have not seen anything happening at this moment of time. So it purely depends on the government. So at this moment of time, for leisure properties which are heavily dependent on foreign inbound travel, obviously they have to change their business mix and look at how they can target the domestic traveler, because domestic travel will happen once the travel restrictions ease out. And I think before the international travel is the domestic travel restrictions which are going to ease out. So they need to really have a good strategy in place for how to capture the domestic leisure traveler.
Okay, thanks, Kamal. So there's one question from one of the hotel owners. He's saying that he owns a hotel in a tier 3 city of India, and his asset is largely dependent on the banqueting business. So he has around 80 rooms, but around 30,000 square foot banqueting adjoining with the lawns, and entire business models on their weddings, social events largely. So he said that looking toward the current market situation and the government restriction on the number of packs you can have the event for, what's your advice to him? What changes he can probably made in this given market size and the type of product he already has?
So in a tier 3 city where the hotel has got lawns and big banquet space, I am assuming, and I may be wrong, that it's away from the main city. I may be wrong. Okay, so if it's away from the main city, they have a very good opportunity of capturing the demand from the city. So where we were talking about the staycation, okay, that somebody now, like if I'm staying in Delhi, I would probably not go and stay in a Delhi hotel. Okay, but then if I am staying in a tier 3 city and there is a property which is like a resort property, they can target that and see some kind of a small family get-togethers. Because what we have noticed is, so I'll give you an example of Mysore market. So what we noticed is there are groups of youngsters traveling from Bangalore to Mysore hotels, okay, to have a get-together, because in Bangalore they are not meeting up, but they are traveling to Mysore to have a get-together party. So that is something which this hotel can target in a tier 3 city.
Great. One of the hotel owners have a question. He said that he is into the leisure business, and what he is seeing the trend that rather business coming to them in these difficult times, or whatever the weekend movement of staycation we are talking about. It's going to the more of to Airbnb properties, probably, or to the farmhouses where the families or a couple is saying they're more secure in the property where it's largely occupied by them. So, do you think in the long term this trend is going to impact the hotel revenues?
Okay, so I'll tell you certain trends of the global market. Okay, as to what exactly is happening. So in US, what is happening is that the economy segment, what we call the economy segment, is doing much better than the upper upscale and the luxury segment. Okay. But then in India, I don't think that's going to be the case. I think that people still have money and they will not take a risk of going to because if you look at the difference between a budget and economy property in India versus a budget economy property in US, there is a massive difference, right? Okay,
that's right.
A much more cleaner, hygienic. But then in India, if you even want to book a 2-star property or a 3-star, you're a bit reluctant to book a 3-star property as well, because the star category, the classification is just, I don't know on what basis it's done, right?
Yeah.
So I don't see that happening to that level. However, saying that, for this property, what I would recommend them is that they need to look at they need to compare their product versus the product where the business is going, and they need to look at the offerings, okay, and see that if they can customize their offering to capture that demand. Because sometimes what happens is that, you never know. It's like to give you an example, in Lonavala, there is like bungalows there, okay, and people are like going taking those bungalows rather than going and staying at the hotel, because they get the privacy, okay. So maybe this hotel can look at the offerings of the other property and say, let me just customize something here, okay, and give them a similar kind of offering. Yeah.
Super. Great. So one more question. Actually, this question is from one of the, I would say, national head of one international chain. He's of the opinion that, and he wants your opinion on this, that in India, 15% of the market is actually with the organized players, which is around 160,000 rooms, room inventory total we have in the country. And the majority of the market is with the unorganized player. Now, let's assume even if the demand drops from the, let's say, 65% national occupancy, moves down to, let's say, 30% or 35%, still that demand probably comes to the organized sector first, because the health and hygiene is one of the biggest factor among the someone who's going to book your room online. He's asking that, what's your opinion on that? Do you also feel the same way? Though we don't have a statistics to prove it, but do you think that your feel is also the similar?
I was a bit surprised when I had a discussion with quite a few key players in the market, just to understand whatever demand is coming, where exactly that demand is going. Okay, because obviously there are certain properties which we work with, and they're like 5-star properties, 4-star properties, 3-star properties. But then I wanted to understand key tier 1 cities or tier 2 cities, business traveler, where exactly the demand is going. I was surprised to know that it's actually going in the budget segment at this moment of time, which is the unstructured budget segment. Okay, so but that is the demand which has been forced to travel at this moment of time. That is not the actual demand, right? That's the demand which has been forced to travel by their bosses, and they're like not the right demand at this moment of time. But then I would say it all really depends on, like I mentioned about the very first demand which I forecast is going to start moving is the small to medium enterprises. Okay, the structured market, the international brands, they are much more stronger in capturing the global accounts. Okay,
sure.
Their focus is much more on the bigger accounts, right? We are talking about really small tier 2, tier 3 cities, corporate travelers. To give you an example, a person sitting in Surat, okay? A person sitting in Amritsar or Jalandhar. Okay, that's the SMEs I'm talking about, which is going to be the initial demand. If the internationals structured hotel sales team is able to reach there and offer them a better price point, yes, they will be able to capture the demand. Yeah, but then they have to, with international, they have to still abide by certain international hotel policies, whereas the standalone brands, they're flexible, they can do whatever they want to do, right? So I think
Sure.
I think I think that's not going to be the case. That the international hotels will get the demand first, and then the unstructured. I think unstructured are, if they play the right way, and if the sales team are really proactive and attack those SMEs, I think the standalone brands can actually do much better.
Okay, so his question was not specific to international. He meant organized sector. The entire domestic, regional, national, or international respect.
That is there. Yeah. No, that is there. So if you look at the organized segment, yes, because obviously the traveler is going to get much more confidence when it comes to cleanliness and hygiene. Yes.
Sure.
So that way is going to be there. Yeah.
Great, superb. So another question is there from one of the hotel owners. He's asking, when it comes to the markets like Mumbai or Delhi, okay, or to across the country, even in the leisure segment, the majority of the demand across the country is of domestic travelers. Okay, it's 87% market is dominated by the domestic traveler. So do you think even for next 2 years, let's say the international travel is on an impact side, or not much is going to come for various reasons? It can be just a perception, nothing more than that for international traveler. But if the government plays right, and if everything goes well, and the trade bodies, everyone come together, the revival will be within next 6 to 9 months?
Again, quite difficult to predict that at this moment of time. There are a lot of people who have lost their jobs. Okay, so there, people who have lost their jobs, their first priority will be obviously to find a job to get back onto survival. But then saying that, there are still a lot of people out there who are really desperate to travel. So domestic business will come back, obviously, way before than the international travel. The numbers will not be as high as what they used to be at this moment of time. We know that because whatever it is. So, but then I don't think it's gonna fill the gap which is being caused by the where the inbound travel is not coming in. I don't think it's gonna cover that gap of the inbound travel. It's still gonna be low.
So great. Thanks a lot, Kamal. There are quite a few more questions, but you have already covered in your presentation, and you explained it beautifully well. And I'm sure all the hotel owners, revenue management experts, and the industry professional GMs have taken great insights from this masterclass. And looking forward for many more such sessions with you in near future, and looking for a great relationship with you in long run as well. Thanks, Kamal. Thank you very much, and thank you to all our audience for